I tell you, I proclaim, scream it from the highest mountaintop, that there's a lot of good to be had in the movie Outlaw Josie Wales, including that quote. Trying to think of the character's name. Waddy, Chief Waddy, perhaps played by Chief Dan George. Always endeavor to persevere. Seriously, that's the way life is. You know, I go to YouTube and I want to talk about politics and the state of the world and the state of people and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to be one of those guys. Even though you can sit back and say, quoting, evil is able to flourish when good men say nothing. There's a lot of people saying it, and I'm going to allow them to say it. Yeah, you just keep getting knocked down. You just have to keep getting back up. Just like that song, there's the truths are out there. Don't believe in coincidences. When the escalator stops, it's because somebody turned it off. It didn't just happen. I don't believe in coincidences. To quote NCIS, Mark Hamill, Gibbs. Just people are so good at avoiding the obvious and dancing around it for various reasons. This is the way it is. Quotes. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. But anyway, getting back to the reality of life. So I switched from what is that? One cable company, I forget. I don't know. So much stuff floating around in this old noggin. Spectrum, the Frontier. They offered me a great deal. Automatically. It was at a higher rate than the guy quoted that knocked on my door. It's $55. And then I get this thing after I said, sure, hook it up. $69. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? So I called Spectrum because I don't want to keep switching horses. You get Progressive, then you go to Geico because they offer you a better deal. Then Geico raises it, then you switch back to Progressive. So I called Spectrum. I want to disconnect my service. The woman is like, why? They sent me to the person that's in charge of stuff, It's because it's cheaper. I found a cheaper deal. Well, what is it? And then she offered me a cheaper deal. And I say, okay, so you've been charging me more than you needed to all this time. And now you're going to charge me this, undercutting Frontier. Why'd you charge me more to begin with? Well, you're supposed to call every so often. Okay, whatever. And then she was like, well, who's your cell phone provider? And then I said, well, Consumer Cellular, because it's this much, it's $90. And then I started looking over my bills and it was $129. And so bundling with Spectrum, blah, 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 I'm going to save like $100 and something a month now. Just because you call and bug them and they can always give you a better deal. It's like, why'd you overcharge me to begin with? But and I told her that. Long story short, gonna go back to Spectrum, gonna dump Consumer Cellular, bundle of things. Gonna save a lot of money just because you bug them. They're not gonna do you any favors unless you bug them. The next one is Sirius XM. Yeah, I know, right? I don't have Sirius in my truck. I bought it from a car dealer, their used car lot, and automatically I had Sirius XM. It's like, no, I listen to the radio, but we can cut it down to, no, I don't need to, I'm perfectly good at the radio. If I don't like this station, I'll turn it to the next. I don't want a subscription service. My wife has Sirius in her car, and she's like, we can call and bug them and get a better deal. And I go, it's just listen to the radio. But I'm going to not complain aside from this video, about doing this. But getting back to always endeavor to persevere bows. Working on multiple bows. One came out. Now, so I'm going to wind up redoing it. Got a whole entire bow, and it works, but it's not my best work, right? So it's going to sit on my rack here until, I strip it of the sinew and everything, and probably reuse the sinew. You can do that, but make a completely other bow. And then I sent this other bow, and keep in mind, I've been selling bows for, I don't know, decades, right? And I always ship them in the same kind of package. And in the hundreds and hundreds, probably I've shipped 400 bows. I've had one, and this was 20 years ago. It was an unbacked paddle bow with almost the same design. It was just, I had stripes down it. There was one going from here down to here, and then a mid, and then another one on either side. Same color, basically. Kind of ironic. This bow has it the same color in a diamond pattern, although he had 3. Getting back, it had a chip in one limb, right? And I called the guy, had his phone number. He was in Iowa, good guy. Good Midwestern, salted earth kind of fellow. And I'm like, I'll replace it. It shipped in the post office, chipped it somehow. Just a minor chip. He goes, I'm going to glue it. It was, I don't remember the weight, 45 pounds or something like that. It was a chip in a way that it would be okay. And he was a bow maker. I said, no problem. I'll just glue it and clamp it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. But getting back to the point, she probably shipped 400 bows, even to Europe, Japan, various parts of Europe. Europe isn't just one country, as you know. Like Africa is a continent, not a country. Some people think it's a country. 400 bows, one 20 years ago chipped, right? A bow just arrived to a Bergen, Texas. It was broken in 3 pieces. It was as if they broke it on purpose. They worked to crush this thing and destroy it. And I'm going to replace it. I'm going to redo the other bow. Going to replace that one. Probably don't need to, legally, but ethically, I will. I'm going to send him another bow. It's making and selling bows is definitely 2 steps forward, 1 3/4 back. I'm glad that I've got a tree job coming up, because with tree jobs and stumps, I make money. It's consistent. I go out, do the job, make a good hourly wage, make money, come back to the workshop, make bows. Fortunately, and what I'm working on now is I've got 2 of them right here. Got them all over the place. But what I'm doing is getting faster at working Osage down to 1 growth ring. And it's if you got a decently sharp draw knife at that right sharpness, you don't want it too sharp so it digs in, but you don't want it so dull that you have to really strain with it. It's not necessarily that hard if you're working down to fat growth rings like this one right here, but you can see that I'm at the level where it's going to be a sinew back bow, reasonable draw weight, so it doesn't have to be, but on a lot of these I'm working down to a very thin growth ring. They're going to be sinew back, probably rawhide back over that, so it doesn't matter. But what I need to do is just get back into practice. I've worked down to a growth ring in maple with extremely fine growth rings. So what I'm doing is my phase of speed working, so I can overcome this 2 steps forward, 1 3/4 backwards by increasing my speed and things. It just is what it is. That's life. This is not a complaining video. This is just reality. The world of making bows. Not everything works out. Even at my stage, after so many, you still have to face the fact that some of the bows are just not going to work out. You know, and then with the case of this post office thing, some of it is just out of your hands. It just doesn't work out that way. But I'm going to bring this one back into light. I've been shooting the heck out of this thing. And you notice that every time you see it, it's got more details in it. And that's how I've been working this thing. Is working it, refining, tailoring to get just that perfect bend in this thing. Because it is junkyard. Yeah, it's a junk cedar. And, you know, that is ironic in its own way because it's a fine bow. This is a very good 32-pound paddle bow made out of western red cedar. You know, so it works. But I've been enjoying that. Taking breaks from working with the Osage. And yeah, you see behind me, you can see this. And I've moved a bunch over here. I've got a lot of partially worked bows. I'm going through now. Since my hours changed, yeah, some negative stuff happened. But on the positive side, having my hours at the store, and hopefully I'm not falling into the range of people that you got fired because you talked about your job. I'm just saying because the hours at my day job changed nicely from 6 in the morning till 10, which means even on the days where I work, it's like not having a work day. It's nice. It's perfect. I like my job. It's a good place to work. Cutting fruit for 4 hours a day and making sandwiches. You know, I come home, short commute. It's like less than 5 minutes. I could run there. You know, get back at 10 and got the whole day to make bows. It'll give me a chance to get faster at working Osage down to a growth ring. I might get a second draw knife, one that I keep super sharp intentionally. My current draw knife, this is kind of a weird thing, that from edge, this one side of the edge to the other side of the edge varies in sharpness. Because Osage is a draw knifing thing, but the draw knife is also a means of kind of splitting things. You know, you draw knife it down and then you get to that foamy layer and you hear that nice, that satisfying kind of crunch as it's going through the softer portion of the wood. And then I scrape it with a knife to kick away that foamy layer down to the target growth ring. And I do that. I don't completely draw knife it because the surface of the Osage, I'm exaggerating, roller coastery when you're looking straight down it. It's not perfectly round. And so it helps to have kind of a curved knife blade to fit into the little crevices and crannies and work sideways and stuff to get into a valley. Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, that's my day. Been doing well. Actually, with my return to running, from the door, running down the street, and then starting the bike path at the lake, which is, I don't know, 10 minutes. Trotting at old man speed, like 14-minute paces for 2 miles. Boom, 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 about 10 minutes down to the beach. Hitting the bike path and going up. My ultimate plan is to do the entire thing, 11 miles plus, and that's doubling because I do point to point and then back up to where the truck is parked. From my porch all the way up to 40 Mile Point Lighthouse. And I think I'm about halfway there. So I've run 4 times, I'm guessing here, maybe 10 miles. Not incredible distances, but you know, when you average it out, then probably going out and running about 2.5, plus or minus, depends, each stage is different, 2.5 miles each way, each stage. So that's going well. Carrying, oh my gosh, I'm actually gaining weight. It's probably muscle on my legs or something like that. My optimum running weight, for speed, back in the day, was 165 pounds, 5'11", you know, so that's rather light. I'd be good with 175. Because just picture it. You're running along, you're carrying a 10-pound weight. That adds up over distance. Jumping on the scales, I'm 190. You know, that's 15 pounds of extra weight that I'm like carrying, you know, in my hands or in a belly pack or a backpack or something like that. 15 pounds when you're running is a lot. Hopefully I can whittle down to 175. But we shall see. I'm going to shoot my bow a while, then I'm going to come back down here and I'm going to grab another piece of Osage and work it down to a growth ring, and after that another one, and have a grouping of bows here. Now after that is done, probably today when the neighbors are awake because it's still early in the morning, I'm going to break out the chainsaw and I'm going to get a judge of this. Hang on. Boy, this is a substantial piece of wood. I thought I dated this thing. I should have. But again, if you haven't seen this before, American elm is its own kind of wood. If you were to take this in white ash or maple or osage or whatever, you could split it into the staves. You know, I'm going to make a bow out of this piece of wood, and you wouldn't have any issues. You take American elm, you cut it and you split it in the staves, seal the ends and everything like that. What you're going to wind up with is a noodly, warped piece of wood that may or may not be able to be reclaimed as a bow. You can certainly take American elm and split it down and make a bow out of it right away, green, and then maybe lash it down, secure it while it dries. It'll dry a lot faster than something like this. But generally speaking, you take American elm and you just split it in the staves, more or less you're going to be in trouble because the whole thing is wobbly. Mark St. Louis, a fantastic bow maker in Canada, clued me in on this. I was talking to him, and he goes, what I do with this stuff, whether he works with hard elm, rock elm, but it does the same thing, is he'll take it just like this. Take the chainsaw, run it down to the center, and let it dry like this, and it controls it. And so this has been sitting around, I think, for a couple of years, 2 years. And so my next step would be, because I'm not going to try to get 5 bows out of this. I might not get, you know, I might ruin something if I try to get too many. I'll take my chainsaw, mark it very carefully, snap a line down there, snapping a line, it's technical talk. Take the chainsaw and cut this into 2 half pieces and watch it. And if it doesn't start doing weird things, then I can take those and I can cut them into quarters and have 4 pieces. Would I split this or would I saw this? Well, if this is osage, I would split it. Because you have to be a little more conscious of the fibers on the side and do the bow according to the fibers, because you don't want them poking out and cutting off, you know, especially middle limb, high stress areas. But American elm is one of those things, along with hickory, that has interlocking grain. It means it doesn't want to come apart. It holds together like a homogeneous piece of material. And so I can basically cut it and then draw a knife it to see where the fibers are, because it's going to be wide, you know, so I can do it that way. And also, if you split, sometimes it starts ripping along the side. It doesn't want to always follow the fiber when you split. So I'll be good just cutting this at first. And let me look at this thing. Analyzing wood. I did it pretty good down here. But the dealio is, I'm going to have different thicknesses. There's going to be different thicknesses in each stave. generally speaking, I'm looking at this one right here, and it would be thick enough for a deep, thicker handle. But this one on this side, would be thinner. This one would be thicker. This would be the place where I would do like a Hill style longbow, Howard Hill style longbow, because it would be thicker and I could have a thicker handle. I'm not into gluing on risers when I'm making stay-made bows. And I might, this one would be thicker, this one would be thicker, and then I've got two thin ones. And if you look at ancient European bows and such, they don't necessarily have the same thickness to the handle as the ASL's American Standard style longbow. And so I'll get two that could potentially have thicker narrowed handles and two that would have thinner narrowed handles, or else do like a Welsh style longbow. And I'm not saying English style longbow because just because of modern convention, you know, English longbow, unless it's like a traditional English longbow that's laminated and stuff like that there. The older ones probably were self and didn't have the narrowed thickened handle. So, you know, there's a lot that goes in on the planning of the bow when you're looking at the raw stave. There. I'm gonna download this video. I'm not gonna watch it like I sometimes do and say, oh, I shouldn't have said all that stuff. It's just John Unfiltered again. You know, maybe I'll bug some people with what I say, but you know, when it comes down to it, we all have various opinions, and we have to get over this thing. If you don't agree with me 1,000%, I do not like you. That's the modern way of looking at it. Well, modern, old people have always been people. That is my story. I am at, holy cow, 22 minutes already. I'm going to cut the video off right now. Have a good one. Thank you for watching.